I told you 25 years ago that you could bet $1,000 on whether or not the Miami Dolphins would go 25 years without a playoff win, that probably would have returned 10 mil, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you could do that on Kalshi right now or on Polymarket right now and pick any team you want.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Michael Jordan retired at the age of 30 in 1993. He missed the 93-94 season. Furthermore, he came back for 17 games in 1995 when he gave up baseball. And when I mean gave up baseball, he gave up baseball on March 18th and came back to basketball March 19th, which means no ramp up, no training camp, no nothing.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You ain't buying no tickets.
Who isn't?
You. You're not going to these
I'm a
games.
fan. Of course I'm not. There's a fan. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but if you were a fan, I thought you were a fan of the Hurricanes. You're not
They told me. I told them to donate my tickets.
Yeah, so I get it. But the fans travel. They have money, believe it or not. It's amazing.
In this economy,
but they have money. I don't know. See what Kalshi says about the economy.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I see the Lions making it when it's all said and done. I talked to Brady Cannon about this. We were doing our show on Sunday night. I think the Bears are just a season early. I think they're a year early in their development. They are winning games, and they still have a negative point differential. The turnovers are keeping them afloat. That's just not sustainable when it's all said and done. Ben Johnson has done a fantastic job. Next year will be the year they truly take a lead.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Who's having fun on a Thursday morning? You know we do. It's how we get down on the SportsGrid Network, the early line. Donnie Rightside and Tom Vecchio here. We got you for one more hour. The topic's going to be fire. We'll get you set up. Huge games in the NFL starting tonight between the Los Angeles Rams and those Seattle Seahawks. And away we go, Tom. And by the way, you know what the funny part about this is? Like the holiday season, we love football. It's the playoffs. In just a few short weeks, it's January, Tom. You wait through January. Yes, we're going to talk college basketball and have fun, but February, you're going to see pitchers and catchers early in that month already. It's I'm telling you, man, the calendar never slows down, Tom. It just doesn't.
It really doesn't. It seems so far away at this point, but once we get into once we get into the NFL playoffs, the weeks fly by leading up to the games, and then once the Super Bowl ends, we have a week and a half, and then they report 15th, 16th, 17th. For pitchers and catchers, and then before you know, we'll be having the interleague or the inter-squad matchups, and then we'll be at full spring training come March 1st, and the season starts later that month.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible, man. And we always say this, too, football season, you wait so much because, yes, Tom and I love Major League Baseball, and it's great in the summer. But once you hit, August, and I remember saying, week 0 in college football, week 1 in the NFL, and I always, enjoy it. It's going to go so fast. And here we're talking about week 16 in the NFL. It's unbelievable how fast times change here, and baseball season certainly on the horizon. But let's get to some of the early lineup topics, Tom. But by the way, we were just ending hour number 1 talking about how we can make bowl season better, and everybody's got opinions here. And on the college football playoff, here's Steve Sarkisian talking about some changes he might like to see.
Well, I think the first thing that needs to happen is we need to get clear criteria for what the committee is looking for. And not only clear criteria on what the committee is looking for, who's on the committee, and that they agree to that's the criteria. And I think that's part of the CFP's got a criteria. We form a committee. Does that committee, the people that are on that committee, agree to that criteria? And if part of the criteria, or if one of the main points, as in this year, you look at the principles of the CFP, the first bullet point is strength of schedule, then we need to honor what the criteria and what the principles are of the CFP. And so I think that's the first part. If we can lay the foundation for that, then that will directly impact what we do moving forward. And then they have to follow through with what they say is important to them. Clearly this year we didn't feel like they followed through with what the principles of the CFP were. That's why we fought for our case, and I don't feel bad.
I can't listen to Sarkisian. Like, I like him as a head coach. Your team had 3 losses. There is no more criteria than win football games. But the one thing that he is getting wrong at this point, there is no criteria. There will never be criteria as long as you have, Tom, a committee picking the teams getting in. Come on now.
So I understand what he's saying, right? And I think what he's trying to allude to is that if there is a certain strength of schedule or certain metric that the committee is looking for, that impacts who they play. That impacts the scheduling, right? So they can maybe sustain an extra loss if they had a better strength of schedule. Instead of playing San Diego State, instead of playing San Jose State in some of these games, if you play more high-quality opponents, one extra loss wouldn't hurt you if everyone's doing that. So I understand what he's saying, but we're just not there yet. Like, that's just what it comes down to. No one agrees to all the same things.
Exactly. I mean, hopefully you get you're always going to have arguments. Oh, I can't believe we left out the 24th team in the country. We're always going to have that. But as long as you put more quality football teams in, the arguments get less and less, and you understand what's it actually going to be and what your criteria is. Win football games. That's usually the criteria. Let's get to the hottest topics, Tom, on the early lineup. Tua Tagovailoa. He ain't winning any football games. They actually had a nice comeback to the season, got momentum, ran up against the Steelers in cold weather, and then we reminded ourselves, Tua can't play in cold weather. Neither can the Miami Dolphins. He's benched, not second string, Tom. Third string, going to be inactive on game days unless 2 quarterbacks get injured ahead of him. That's a tough fall.
Maybe we should have seen this coming, knowing or looking at the quality of opponents that the Dolphins beat along this late season resurgence. Really wasn't the best quality. Seeing their defense step up and not allow a single rushing touchdown over the past 5 weeks prior to this past Monday night. When you're doing that against bad teams, like, it's nice to see that, but at the end of the day, it's still against bad teams. So it's time for the Dolphins to move on from Tua. I think they are in for a very long rebuild. They need to get a new GM sorted out. They need to get rid of this dead cap space that they're going to have with Tua after they move off of him. I don't know what team would possibly want to take Tua at this point, but see what you have with Quinn Ewers, free up the cap space, and then draft properly and sign the best free agents you can and start building from there.
Joe Burrow, he's saying to himself, I'm not liking football, and that was an indicator a week and a half ago. Then he goes out and gets shut out. I don't know what he's doing, Tom. Joe Burrow, maybe he's ready to hang it up.
It's certainly looking like that Joe Burrow may be the next Andrew Luck, which is obviously something that no one wants to see. Joe Burrow is a fantastic quarterback. You can absolutely make the argument that he's one of the top 3, 4, 5 quarterbacks in the league, but he needs help. And he needs help on the offensive line. They need to keep him protected. The team needs to make investments into the practice facility and the practice field. And they need a competent defense, Donnie. We've talked about this years at this point. If Joe Burrow has a league average defense, we're not talking about a top 5 unit. We're not talking about a Bears historic team. League average defense can bring Joe Burrow to the playoffs. That's what it comes down to. Stop giving up 30 points a game and protect him, and he'll bring you a championship.
Let's speed burst through these next topics here, Tom. Washington Nationals, new GM in town. He's young, and he's a Philadelphia Philly disciple here. Gotta love that, at least.
He's younger than I am, and he's the GM of a major league team, which is always interesting to see. But a good step for the Nationals. It's a part of the building process. Lean into it, weather the storm, deal with the ups and downs, and I think he'll be there for the long run.
Brian Smith, coach of Ohio, the Bobcats, well, we should say he was the coach, malpractice to say the least. If they're not letting you know right now what he did and he has professional misconduct, we can guess what it is because it's hard to get fired, specifically on your day off, Tom.
Yeah, certainly not looking good for them. And again, there needs to be more and more regulations from the NCAA down towards the teams, the players, and the coaches when it comes to NIL. If they were to lose NIL money heading into next year, coaches would be on their P's and Q's. Things would tighten up across all schools if they knew that things would be impacted negatively.
Chicago investment firm buying the Pittsburgh Penguins. Maybe they'll move them to Gary, Indiana, along with the Chicago Bears, Tom. We can have a whole complex going on.
Yeah, Penguins, they finally get sold. The Fenway Group no longer owns them. As long as, I don't care who these teams get sold to, as long as they're willing to invest in the teams and invest in the players, that's the most important thing. Because, Donnie, I want to see high, competent teams across all sports. Do things the right way to bring us the best quality games. That's what matters to me. I don't care who they get sold to. Just invest in the teams and the players.
Luke Weaver doesn't have to invest in probably a new place to stay, Tom, staying in the Big Apple, but this time with the New York Metropolitans.
Yeah, moving across the city to the Mets. Listen, Luke Weaver was fantastic for the Yankees for a good stretch of games and a good stretch of really over a season. But with a lot of closers, as soon as things go bad, they go downhill so quickly, Donnie. We saw this with various closers across the league. As soon as they get the yips and they lose it, I don't know how they can fix it. And sometimes it takes a lot of time. It takes a new pitching coach, whoever it might be. And ultimately, the new change of scenery is probably the best thing for him if there's any semblance of him getting back to the level that he was at.
Yeah, if you're a pitcher, you want to go to the Mets, right? You go from a little league ballpark there in New York. You go pitch at the other one. It's actually a pitcher-friendly ballpark there. There you go. Win, win, win all the way around. The New York Knicks, another New York team, hanging banners, not for them. They want to hang the real banner, which is an NBA championship, not an NBA Cup championship, Tom.
Yeah, they are going against the league a little bit in some regard, not hanging the NBA Cup banner, but, good for the Knicks for winning the Cup. Obviously, it helps their fan base. It helps their, motivation and continuity throughout the season, but they have been in the playoffs. They've been to conference finals. This is like just a step along the way. And if they win the NBA championship, they can look back on this and they can smile, and then maybe they'll have some extra banner for that when it's all said and done. But winning the championship is the most important thing. Don't raise this banner.
Yeah, they haven't won a champion, like an NBA championship feels like in 100 years. What, 72, 73 at this point? It's kind of because the Lakers are used to winning championships. So if they put that banner up, like, we have 1 million championships. Even Milwaukee just won a championship, so they can sort of hide that banner. The Knicks can't hide that banner. Everybody, every fan that hates the Knicks would just take a picture of that banner and laugh at it. We'll be right back.
If I told you 25 years ago that you could bet $1,000 on whether or not the Miami Dolphins would go 25 years without a playoff win, that probably would have returned 10 mil, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you could do that on Kalshi right now or on Polymarket right now and pick any team you want.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Michael Jordan retired at the age of 30 in 1993. He missed the 93-94 season. Furthermore, he came back for 17 games in 1995 when he gave up baseball. And when I mean gave up baseball, he gave up baseball on March 18th and came back to basketball March 19th, which means no ramp up, no training camp, no nothing.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You ain't buying no tickets.
Who isn't?
You're not going to these
I'm a
games.
fan. Of course I'm not. There's a fan. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but if you were a fan, I thought you were a fan of the Hurricanes. You're not anymore.
They told me. I told them to donate my tickets.
Yeah, so I get it. But the fans travel. They have money, believe it or not. It's amazing. They do. Well, somebody's got money.
In this economy,
they have money. I don't know. See what Kalshi says about the economy.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I see the Lions making it when it's all said and done. I talked to Brady Cannon about this. We were doing our show on Sunday night. I think the Bears are just a season early. I think they're a year early in their development. They are winning games, and they still have a negative point differential. The turnovers are keeping them afloat. That's just not sustainable when it's all said and done. Ben Johnson has done a fantastic job. Next year will be the year they truly take a lead.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
College football playoffs. No, it doesn't start tonight. We got a great appetizer tonight in the NFC West, a game between the Rams and also the Seattle Seahawks. But we do start tomorrow night live from Norman, Oklahoma. That's going to be Alabama and Oklahoma. But before we get there, ideas and topics are being thrown around daily. Understand this. Me, being a Division III football player from the 1990s, I paid to go to school to play football. So it's not me crying and saying, oh, I can't believe guys are getting paid. But you had to understand, the fundamental landscape of college football was going to change once you got NIL. And a lot of people had no idea about college. Pay the kids. They're worth millions of dollars. Well, enjoy what you're actually sowing right now, where it's a true free agent market. Tom, we actually just had a quarterback at USC re-sign with the Trojans, which I thought was hilarious. But here's PJ Fleck talking about paying players.
Like, I think that, everybody has representation now, right? So I think they have representation to, one, put them in the best position. They're hiring them to put them in the best position and then give them as much money as they possibly can, or get them as much money as they possibly can. But I said earlier, I talked about the value system. Like, what do you really value? Is it just the highest dollar? Is it the right position for your future? Is this an environment that you value versus extra dollars? Are we the highest bidder? Maybe we are. But I think it's all got to fit together. It's all got to come together. It's the best example I give, and you've covered the Vikings forever, right? And it's the roles we're in is like you're the head coach, you're the president, you're the owner, you're the GM, you're the director of player personnel, right? And you've almost got to be a negotiator as well of what you have in your budget. And you're doing that without the systems that the NFL has in place.
You got no salary cap, or you can't, you can kind of figure out what guys are getting offered. I don't know how you do it here.
Well, sometimes those offers are real, and sometimes those offers aren't real. And you have to. I think there's a book called The Art of Making a Deal. There's got to be deals you walk away from. Ryan asked me earlier. This is weeks ago. He's like, it's just going to be interesting to see how you go through and make the decisions you make. And some decisions, it's not just a guy wanted to leave or had to leave, but both parties were couldn't come to an agreement. You had to walk away.
By the way, NIL, Tom, does really level the playing field in most instances, because it used to be like Alabama would say, you're going to go to Memphis? Like, you're coming to Alabama because we're going to put you in a better spot. Now, Memphis goes, we'll pay you double what you're getting. And the kid goes, okay, I'll go to Memphis at this point. It's such an interesting landscape now. It really is.
It really is. And, what I keep thinking of, and I forget where I heard this. It might have been someone on this network. It might have been somewhere else. But I heard someone say, and I really wish I could credit them. I don't remember who it is you either get NIL or you get the transfer portal. You get one or the other. And I think that would be a really good balance, where you can't have both, just because there's too much going on in all of these. And there's not enough guardrails set up at this point, right? And to your point, it's saying is, you want to pay the players. It's great. But I think if there were more boundaries in place, that's where we can really see the best growth overall, where we could see things be in control, but also players have a little bit of freedom to go where they want to go. Maybe they get paid a little bit, but also be in the position that they want to be in.
Yeah, no, it's changed the landscape. We'll live with it. We'll learn to understand it. We're now, GMs are now in college football because they have to handle a quote-unquote salary cap that they have, which is kind of interesting at this point. But we'll find out where it goes. College football playoff odds, Tom, talked about this all week long as we finally get up to the first game, which will be tomorrow night, Alabama and Oklahoma. OSU is that favorite at plus 195. You see Indiana up there to plus 310, followed by Georgia, Texas Tech, Oregon, and Texas A&M. We get underway, Tom, but I always ask this question. I keep on pounding it to Joe. Does Ohio State deserve to be the favorite after getting beat by Indiana at plus 195? Is that just a little trip up there?
Yeah, I would say that's fine when it's all said and done. I will say, when we're looking at the odds, like A&M stands out to me. And I know they have an extremely difficult path, but if they were to win, they are a home favorite, at least in round one. They obviously have to go up against Ohio State. What do you make of their odds? Because those are extremely long, considering that they are hosting a round one game. And 19-1, they have to get past Ohio State. They have to get past Georgia, theoretically, those two teams. But 19-1 seems too long, given where they are.
Yeah, some of those are tough. And by the way, we'll lump in these games, Tom. You got 4 games coming up this weekend in the college football playoff. And also, I've seen so many people say this. Why would you put James Madison in Oregon in prime time at 7:30 on Saturday night? The spread's 21.5. Why wouldn't Miami and Texas end? People understand. The NFL cannibalizes everything you do. The NFL is a doubleheader on Saturday that starts at 5 o'clock. Of course, you're not putting Miami and Texas A&M during an NFL game. That's why you put that Miami-Florida game going up against Texas A&M in that early slot. But it does start, Tom, Alabama and Oklahoma, game number 1, night number 1 of the college football playoff on Friday. And then right away, Saturday morning, you're going to be getting ready for Miami versus Texas A&M. The boys will be live, both myself and Joe Rainier, for college football today. We'll be able to preview those games. Then Tulane, Ole Miss, James Madison, Oregon. For me, Tom, it's really, who'd I say? Joe Ranieri's coming back Saturday. Did I mess that up right there? Okay, there you go. So Joe and Joe. I'm with a Joe on Saturday. That's all you need to know. Alabama, Oklahoma, Miami, and Texas A&M. Then we get the 2 layups, Tom. Which game are you looking forward to? Do you have a side? Do you have an angle on one of these games that you actually really like?
Yeah, I would say, again, if you can get A&M and you can get, if it falls down to 3 and not 3.5, I think that's certainly a spot to bet. The 3.5 for Miami does look good at this point. Joe Ranieri did say if we are really dealing with the best 12 teams in the country, none of these games should be over a field goal, which I absolutely agree with. So the Ole Miss Tulane game, there's no way that's going to be an enjoyable game compared to Alabama, Oklahoma. Like, we have a rivalry, we have a rematch, we have a game that should bring us literally the best quality football of the entire weekend. So the 2 late games bring nothing for me, but the 2 early games, that's where we get the juice. That's where we get the best players. I lean on the under for Alabama, Oklahoma. We're going to see somewhat of the same thing as we saw, weeks ago earlier in the regular season. I'm not sure if Alabama can lose 2 times in a row to the same team in the same season, but man, points are not going to be coming in this matchup. I just don't believe these teams are going to be getting up and down, flying and scoring. I could see a little bit of scoring in Miami and A&M, but still leaning with Miami getting the 3.5 right now.
And by the way, I do like Oklahoma, but again, being a handicapper, understanding how some of these lines work, Tom, less than 40% of the tickets coming in on Oklahoma. Alabama was the favorite all along. They're not the favorite anymore. It's minus 1.5 here towards Oklahoma. And also understand this, that total, 40.5. You got to be kidding me. Like, even DraftKings now showing, Tom, 39.5 for this game. Windy conditions sustained around 20 miles per hour. Alabama hasn't been that great on offense. We know Oklahoma's offense stinks out loud. This will be an interesting one to watch it play out. But for me, I think that line swing is really interesting when now Oklahoma is the favorite at home against Alabama.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. It's partly due to the weather. It's partly just due to the defense on both sides. Mateer is a good quarterback, but this is also not an offense that's going to go and score 30 points by themselves.
Predictive marketplaces coming up next. It's Tom and Donnie right here on a Thursday morning on the SportsGrid Network.
This season is about coming together, sharing moments.
We're going to go with the over tonight.
And celebrating what connects us. It's lighting the candles, gathering like a team, and finding joy in every night. 8 nights of tradition, 8 nights of celebration, 8 chances to shine. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
I see the Lions making it when it's all said and done. I talked to Brady Cannon about this. We were doing our show on Sunday night. I think the Bears are just a season early. I think they're a year early in their development. They are winning games, and they still have a negative point differential. The turnovers are keeping them afloat. That's just not sustainable when it's all said and done. Ben Johnson has done a fantastic job. Next year will be the year they truly take a lead.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
They're doing a new show about a Japanese interpreter.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're doing I don't know if it's a documentary or actors are in it.
I
think it's a drama.
It's a real show.
It's like a scripted show?
Yeah.
About a Japanese interpreter?
Yes.
I wonder who's getting paid for that.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl MVP, multiple Super Bowl chances there, Super Bowl championship as they got it. Nick Sirianni said on the radio, no chance that Jalen Hurts is going to be benched. But by the way, Jalen Hurts didn't play the last 3 games. I think the Eagles would be 3-0 in those games, though. Just saying, Joe.
Oh, wow. How the mighty have fallen. When the Eagles fans turn on their quarterback, it's getting ugly in Philly, folks.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Predictive marketplace is always a good side to have here on a Thursday to see where maybe some of these hot topics go, and also that stock market strategy, Tom, where you can Buy low, sell high, get a profit, ride it out, get the maximum profit that you can possibly have. Let's start in the NBA. Anthony Davis just feels like every single year, every single week, we're talking about who's his next team is he going to play for. Well, there's also options here on the Kalshi marketplace where he can just stay in Dallas or retire. And by the way, that's a 59% chance on Kalshi right now, up 2% from its high. So if you think Anthony Davis isn't going anywhere, plays with Dallas and or just retires, $100 wager pays back $164. The other options here listed, some of the more favorable marketplaces to move, the Atlanta Hawks and also the Toronto Raptors, Tom. Any doings here for you on Anthony Davis, staying or going in Dallas?
Ultimately, I would say that he stays because the trade for Anthony Davis giving up Luka already looks bad enough. If you're then going to move on from Anthony Davis and really not get a quality return back, I think that is an absolute disaster for the Mavericks. It also comes down to the fact that Anthony Davis is in line and or due for another extension and or raise. So I don't know how many teams out there would be willing to say, I'm going to take on a veteran player, an often injured veteran player, who then I have to pay $50 million a year. I just don't know how many teams are willing to take that onto their payroll. So Dallas may just not be able to find a partner to trade him to. Therefore, he just stays because they can't move him. They're stuck with him.
Yeah, no, you're right about that, because when you're taking a look at it, like, you have to understand, yes, he's still at the apex of his career, but does that mean he's going to play 13 games a season and you're going to have to trade a lot for that guy to have it? Probably doesn't make all that much sense, which then brings us to the next point. Now, we're a little bit away from the NBA trade deadline, but there is a marketplace, Tom, where you can get after just about every player possibly to be traded. At least the hot guys here would be Jonathan Kuminga. 81% chance. Chris Paul, 64% chance. And by the way, traded before the deadline. Does that mean he gets picked up and then gets traded, or just finds a new team? That's kind of a convoluted one. Kyle Kuzma, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Let's start with that one, Tom. 53%. So $100 wager pays back $179 if Giannis gets moved before the deadline. What do you think here?
Yeah, I think across the board, the Kuminga one is an easy one. There's been enough turmoil and enough with that saga that they should just be moving on from it, just to kind of rip the Band-Aid off it and get it done with. The Antetokounmpo one, I think, makes the most sense from his perspective and a basketball perspective. You know, this is the situation for, you know, really a year plus at this point where, you know, we talked about with Kevin that it's like, his mindset is like, hey, listen, I'm not going to flat out request a trade, but if you guys can move me, that would be best for me when it's all said and done. It's now getting to the point that he's going to flatly request a trade and move on. And the Bucks have to deal with that. They have to say, we're going to lose him for nothing, or we can get back a boatload of assets. And that's what we have to do. Listen, he owes Milwaukee nothing. They drafted him. He brought them a championship. It's time to move on. That's just what happens in sports.
Ivica Zubac here for the Clippers. A yes is at 21%, Tom. $100 wager pays back $477. Why do we bring that one up? Well, if they're going to start that tear down and you have an asset, you can move them for assets to come back. That might be one we think about. How about the Pittsburgh Steelers? We're going to talk about not trading away anybody, Tom. We're past the trade deadline in the NFL. But how about wins this season? 81% chance, up 19% from its high, Tom. Over 8.5 wins, which means Mike Tomlin will secure a winning season there in Pittsburgh, something he always does. $100 wager, Tom, pays back $124. You want to get to 10 wins? That's 32%. 10.5 wins? That's at 11%, Tom. Where do you think the Steelers end up here?
That's a really good question.
Because they got 8 wins, 3 to go. Yeah.
They played Detroit this week. Next week, off the top of my head, I'm not sure who they play, but I know they play Cleveland. Okay, so it's Detroit, Cleveland, Baltimore. You know, Baltimore, that could be for the division title, depending how things shake out for the Ravens. The Ravens have to play the Pats. So I would honestly, I'm not sure if they get 2 more wins. They can beat Cleveland. They can lose to Detroit, and they can lose to the Ravens. They've already beaten the Ravens once this season, and just the way that that rivalry goes between the franchises, they often split that series, the season series, every single year. So give me 2 more losses on their schedule, not 2 more wins.
By the way, I love these markets, Tom, because understanding this, because you have to sort of wrap your head around like the stock market itself and just common day. If I told you today, Tom, give me $100 right now, and I promise in 9 days, I'm going to give you $124 back. That's a 24% return on your investment. Well, that's too much juice to lay. The Steelers are going to win one more football game because they are going to beat the Cleveland Browns. They have a chance to beat the Lions and also the Ravens as well, but they will beat the Browns. Hand somebody $100, they give you back $124. Who would say no to that? But we're so trained in our mind. Like, I'm not laying out that juice at this point. I'm telling you, looking at it in the way of a stock market as opposed to a bet completely changes your mindset here. Hot topics, they keep coming, people. We'll keep educating. Next, right here on the SportsGrid Network.
This season is about coming together, sharing moments.
We're going to go with the over tonight.
And celebrating what connects us. It's lighting the candles, gathering like a team, and finding joy in every night. 8 nights of tradition, 8 nights of celebration, 8 chances to shine. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
I see the Lions making it when it's all said and done. I talked to Brady Cannon about this. We were doing our show on Sunday night. I think the Bears are just a season early. I think they're a year early in their development. They are winning games, and they still have a negative point differential. The turnovers are keeping them afloat. That's just not sustainable when it's all said and done. Ben Johnson has done a fantastic job. Next year will be the year they truly take a lead.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
They're doing a new show about a Japanese interpreter.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're doing like I don't know if it's a documentary or like actors are in it.
It's got
I think it's a drama.
It's a real show.
It's like a scripted show?
Yeah.
About a Japanese interpreter?
Yes.
I wonder who's getting paid for that.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Super Bowl MVP, multiple Super Bowl chances there, Super Bowl championship as they got it. Nick Sirianni said on the radio, no chance that Jalen Hurts is going to be benched. But by the way, Jalen Hurts didn't play the last 3 games. I think the Eagles would be 3-0 in those games, though. Just saying, Joe.
Oh, wow. How the mighty have fallen. When the Eagles fans turn on their quarterback, it's getting ugly in Philly, folks.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
NFL, baby, starts tonight, Tom. 1.5 point favorite for Seattle. We'll get to that in just a little bit, but we do have a doubleheader on Saturday. More football is awesome, man. Like, I'm telling you, like, college football feels a great need on Saturdays. We get that. But when college football winds down, the NFL helps us out, Tom. A doubleheader, meaningful, too. The Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Washington Commanders in game number 1, followed by Green Bay and Chicago game number 2. The 5 o'clock start is the Eagles and the Commanders. Hurts is going to take on Marcus Mariota. Why? Because Jaden Daniels isn't going to play the rest of the season, and rightfully so. It's the right move for the young quarterback. The Eagles opened up as 5.5 point favorites, Tom. That's now up to 6.5 in a total of 44.5. Now, understand this, too. The Eagles win this game, they do clinch the NFC East no matter what the Cowboys do the rest of the way. Their magic number is down to 1. An Eagles victory and or a Cowboys loss over the final 3 weeks gives them the division. This seems like a mismatch on paper, but sometimes these divisional games do get tricky. I'm not in luck. I like the fact that the Eagles won last week and easily dispatched the Raiders. That was a peewee football team that came to Philadelphia. They were horrendous in that one. You're going to get a punch from Washington, Tom. How we feel about this game? Maybe side total or a prop look?
Commanders want to play spoiler. Like, that's, I think, was one of my prevailing, takeaways or sentiments from the game. Not takeaways, previous year's games. Commanders want to play spoiler. Commanders have dealt with so much this season. Daniel's done for the season, losing Zach Ertz for the year. I lean on the under. And a part of this would be that the Commanders have to put a full effort in. If they're going to try and play spoiler, they're going to have to try and slow down the Eagles' offense, which, Donnie, they put up 30-plus points last week, but it was against the Raiders. Prior to that, the Eagles' offense wasn't great. Now, this Commanders defense is also very bad. So I lean under in this game. Could I see the Eagles still covering on an under game? Yes, but I think the under is my first spot to go when it's all said and done. I will say there are some interesting teaser opportunities this week. If you were to use the Eagles 6.5, if you were to use a 6-point teaser with them, you could pair them with a team such as the Bills, who are 10.5-point favorites. If you wanted to bring them down and make that a little bit more palatable, that's where I'd be looking to go. And or the Lions were at home and 6.5-point favorites against the Steelers. Just the Eagles and the Lions both to win, essentially.
Yeah, no, makes a lot of sense here. And by the way, looking at this game too, short work week for the Eagles. You're going to get your carries from Saquon Barkley, but he did have a stinger last week in that game. You saw Bigsby come in that relief, and again, it was a late game, but still runs well. I don't see any numbers. I'm trying to see posted on Bigsby's backup, but if you're going to get one of those cheap prices, Tom, 13, 14 yards in this game, I'm taking Tank Bigsby as one of those guys that just give me a couple carries in this with maybe a little bit banged up Saquon, and we'll move forward at this. Also, you saw last week Jalen Hurts banged up early third quarter, sort of got that knee caught up on a tackle and looked awkward. He says he's fine. That's something to look at as well this weekend. But the Eagles should be able to beat the Washington Commanders on Saturday. That night game here, Tom, the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers. That opening line before we saw the injuries to Parsons and or Watson was 3.5. That number's dipped down to most outlets as we see right now, Tom, -1s. And even now, I'm seeing DraftKings has a favorite here for the Chicago Bears. They've been playing great football, but also, Tom, I feel like, look, I like the Packers, but I feel like we're making too much about Micah Parsons being down and Watson's supposed to come back as if they can't win this game. Are we getting a discount on Green Bay, or to you, is the Bears the right play?
I think both things can be true. Like, I would say if you got the Bears before the line moved, great. I would not bet into the Bears after it's past the key number and you're betting them potentially as a favorite. As you said, the line has moved to them being -1.5. I would not bet the Bears at this point. They can still very much win this game. And I do think it's a discount on Green Bay. I will say this game's going to be cold. It's going to be in the 30s. There's going to be about 10-mile-per-hour wind. There's going to be no snow, but it's not overly dramatic wind. So, it's going to be bad conditions, but it's actually not terrible. I will say it's about the under in this game. It's about the under. This is a critical game for both teams. If the Bears were to win this game, there is a path forward that the Packers actually don't make the playoffs. So this is a critical game for both teams when it comes to not just making the playoffs, Donnie. We saw that the Bears were the number 1 seed a couple weeks ago. With that loss, they dropped them down into the wild card. So this is about winning the division, getting home field advantage, all these sorts of things. The under, the under, the under.
Yeah, a lot of meaningful football games this weekend. Again, Thursday, Rams, Seahawks. Saturday, Packers, Bears, Bucks, Panthers. Sunday, Steelers, Lions, Jags, Broncos, Patriots, Ravens, 49ers, and the Colts, which is what we're going to talk about next on Monday night. This game is so intriguing to me because when you watch some things with your eyes and you don't want to say, you know what, you still got to stick with the numbers. Like, I watched Phillip Rivers. He can't move. He can't throw a pass. But then you sort of have to leverage it by saying, okay, it was his first start back. He was just getting back under center after 3 days of practice. You know it's probably going to get better. And they're still listing him, Tom, as a price point of around -150, -155 or so for his passing yards. He was on the road, outdoors, not in the dome, in Seattle against one of the better defenses in the league. He's going to go up against a team he could probably move the football on. But that's the dilemma. Because if you do get San Francisco and Brock Purdy, who've been playing very well in offense, moving that football, that's a 6.5-point favorite. Can they hang around? Or when do they give up their strategy of, let's slow this game down? What an intriguing handicap on Monday Night Football and a monster game. San Francisco could be the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. The Colts, who looked like they were printing money and saying, we're going to be the number 1 seed, now fighting for their playoff lives, Tom.
Yeah, this game has so many different things going on, and so many of them are pulling in opposite directions, to your point. The ideal game plan for the Colts is doing one thing, but if it goes against that, as we talked about before, I'm not sure they have enough to go on a different game plan. Like, they need to keep this game lower scoring. Yeah. The Colts, I don't think, are in a spot to try and win this game 28-24, 31-28. If this game is high scoring, it's because San Francisco is flying away with this one. If the Colts win this game, it's going to be low scoring and ugly. It's going to be the same thing. When you look at some of the touchdown odds for this game, Donnie, they're insane. Yeah. Jonathan Taylor's -300 to score when you're a home underdog. Like, that should tell you enough about what the Colts game plan is. the first pass catcher is Tyler Warren at plus 270 to catch a touchdown for the Colts. So they want to keep this game as slow, as ground game, and as ugly as possible. They don't want San Francisco to even get to 21 points because I don't think they can keep up with them.
Yeah, the prop for Phillip Rivers touchdown passes, I think, is a half, but it is juiced there. It's under 200. But you don't have, it's like, usually when you think about touchdown passes, like, oh, man, let me connect on one from 40 yards out. Like, if they get inside the red zone, he threw a touchdown last week. He threw a couple quick slants over the middle, little pick play. You can get in. It's a very intriguing matchup. Now, it is Monday Night Football, so you have some time to think about it. But, boy, you could be really right in this game or really wrong and be like, hey, man, that's just what I saw from the week previous. We'll see how that plays out and certainly watching where that line winds up. New England and Baltimore, I love this game. It's fantastic. Why? Because you're waiting on New England to say, you beat a lot of bad football teams, and yes, you're still a good football team. Nobody's taking that away. You lose last week after having a 3-touchdown lead at home to Buffalo. You don't want to let one loss turn into 2. But then you flip it over to Baltimore, who needs every win they can get, and they're favored in this game at home in Baltimore. Sharp side, this one, extremely sharp, is on the Ravens, Tom.
Yeah, this might be one of the games of the year. You know, we started off with, Bills, Ravens, and that was fantastic at the beginning portion of the season. But this really does look like the game of the year. And I know it may not seem like that because the Ravens are literally, as you said, fighting for every playoff, when they can get to make the playoffs. But I'm almost like thinking ahead, like what happens if the Pats lose this game, are we actually going to take a step back and be like, hang on, are they actually frauds? Because they beat no one to this point. Right? And
Correct.
They stacked them a bunch of wins. They'll make the playoffs. They can still win the division. But are they actually frauds because they beat no one? And then if the Ravens win this game, are we going to say, hang on, are the tides actually turning? Are we actually going to see Lamar in the playoffs? And they've actually found a way to right the ship. Despite all the early season struggles that they had and the injuries and all this, the Ravens are actually back, and maybe the Ravens are a dangerous team need to be worried about in the playoffs. There's so many takeaways from this game that are potential, Donnie.
Let's get a quick takeaway from May on the MVP buzz, if we can, quickly.
The MVP it's obviously one of the big accolades for this league, and it's something that it's an honor as a player to earn the award, and I respect all the past MVPs. But I think at the end of the day, winning the Super Bowl is the biggest thing, and I think it's what kind of makes this league go is winning the big one, and that's what you work towards, and that's what this game's about. I love winning, and the personal accolades come with all that, but I'd rather win than win. Personal awards. People in that locker room, I know a lot of people.
Hey, Drake May, MVP style, baby. We'll be right back into this break with the Commissioner of Canada. How about that?
If I told you 25 years ago that you could bet $1,000 on whether or not the Miami Dolphins would go 25 years without a playoff win, that probably would have returned 10 mil, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you could do that on Kalshi right now or on Polymarket right now and pick any team you want.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Michael Jordan retired at the age of 30 in 1993. He missed the 93-94 season. Furthermore, he came back for 17 games in 1995 when he gave up baseball. And when I mean gave up baseball, he gave up baseball on March 18th and came back to basketball March 19th, which means no ramp up, no training camp, no nothing.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You ain't buying no tickets.
Who isn't?
You're not going to
Saying
these
I'm a
games.
fan. Of course I'm not. There's a fan. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but if you were a fan, I thought you were a fan of the Hurricanes. You're not
They told me. I told them to donate my tickets.
Yeah, so I get it. But the fans travel. They have money, believe it or not. It's amazing.
In this economy,
they have money. I don't know. See what Kalshi says about the economy.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I see the Lions making it when it's all said and done. I talked to Brady Cannon about this. We were doing our show on Sunday night. I think the Bears are just a season early. I think they're a year early in their development. They are winning games, and they still have a negative point differential. The turnovers are keeping them afloat. That's just not sustainable when it's all said and done. Ben Johnson has done a fantastic job. Next year will be the year they truly take a lead.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, it is a Thursday. It's time to get the ampage higher because the guy that we're going to bring on in just a few moments here, if you didn't know, he used to play for the Hamilton Mustangs under Coach Murray Chadwick here. It's on your right side, Tom Vecchio. And here's Cam Stewart. Come on, Cam. Really? Hamilton Mustangs, baby.
Oh, Hamilton. Down, boy. You and Tommy, you guys are giving me a lesson on Canada. He's like, Tom's like, hey, Gavin McKenna playing up at the Yukon. I'm like, what are you guys doing? I need a lifeline with Tom on Jeopardy, but nice to be here, Donnie. Huge Thursday. We got football tonight, and I've been waiting for a while for this one. This is one of the biggest game in Seattle Seahawks history in a long time since the glory days, guys. And you know what? To be the best, like the Rams own these guys, you got to show up tonight. And I got to tell you, last night I'm putting in bets, all sorts of stuff, and then I'm seeing, wow, a +1.5 becomes a -1.5. Obviously, some interesting late money. Not late. The game's not even there. Coming in on Seattle. I don't know if we're going to have a take back, guys, but I know how you guys feel. Like I love the Seahawks in this spot. I think the Darnold stuff's a little bit overblown. He still has to do it. He has to prove it. One of the problems is when you look at this team breaking it down is the usage of Kenneth Walker, not just for fantasy owners. Like, what's he going to do in this game? I think it's going to be a nice change of pace. I think he's going to get more carries. I know over the last 3 weeks he's been diminishing, but I like Walker. I like the Seahawks tonight. I really think they can get to Matthew Stafford. So I'm taking them, guys. Also, Shaheed, over 2.5 receptions is a prop that I took. He's been getting way more acclimated into the offense. They're going to be all over JSN. Guys, I was going to take JSN. His catches is like 6.5, 7. So that's what he's had the last 2 weeks. He's had 14. It's not, the number's too sharp, Tommy and Donnie. So I'm going to go elsewhere, look for some other guys.
Yeah, Cam, this game is really interesting to me on a level of because I don't think Seattle gets enough love because, again, Pacific Northwest, sometimes you get lost, but some of the 49ers recognition, the Rams recognition, and also the fact that you do have Sam Darnold at quarterback, which we're waiting for that Sam Darnold game in Seattle. The team has played very good on defense. They can hang around, but I feel like this game is, if you win this, they are a true Super Bowl contender because the only thing left right now for me in the Seattle Seahawks is a big win by Darnold on a Thursday night in a must-win situation. We didn't get that last year with the Vikings, which is why he's not a Vikings quarterback anymore. So I look at it tonight and say, give me that win any which way possible. And if they do get a Cam, now I'm looking at Seattle possibility of, yes, the number 1 overall seed, the pathway to making a Super Bowl and winning a Super Bowl.
I got to be honest with you, when those lines came, I'm like, Seattle is a second choice for the Super Bowl. But if you really break it down and start to know the team, like Nick Emenwara from South Carolina, does anybody talk about this guy? Talk to Tom about it. The guy's like a defensive player of the year. And they drafted all these players, and they've done really, really well with them. Like Mike McDonald and his staff and John Schneider, the GM, deserve a lot of commend. Like, they deserve their kudos. This is a rebuild that was supposed to take a couple more years. It hasn't. But, Donnie, this is what I talked about last night with Wetzel and Morency, too. We both agree. It's urgent for Seattle, I think, to get the home seed. I know they play better on the road now, but with Sam Darnold's history and playoff disappointments, say things go bad early on the road somewhere, Philadelphia, like mean places to play. Like I can see like the meltdown. Like if Seattle has a home crowd, they can punch you early. I think that's really important for the confidence in changing this narrative. But I think their defense is underrated. I wish we had one more offensive weapon. Charbonnet's it's going to be a nice 1-2 punch. And I will say this, and I'm not sure if you guys agree, they're built for the playoffs because of the way they run the ball. They have Walker, who's a slasher, and they have a power back. They have a mean defense. Defense travels. That's the whole thing. You could look at it this way. Trent Dilfer in Baltimore. Nick Foles, when he was with your Philadelphia Eagles, Donnie, not great quarterbacks. Just don't screw it up. The rest of the team is amazing. So just do your thing. Play an average game, don't throw picks, and everything will be fine. Just be a game manager. And I think Seattle could even win with Darnold as a game manager.
Now, what do you make of tonight's game with the weather? Because all the reports that we've seen thus far are terrible. Rain, sustained winds in the 20s, just pushing with gusts up to 40 miles per hour. So for me, I see this as a big ground game for all 4 running backs, 2 from the Rams, 2 from Seattle. Donnie and I were taking a look at the touchdown props. The fact that you get Walker and Charbonnet both at plus 185, I want to make a play on both of them, and just one of them needs to come through. Thoughts on the ground game and the weather tonight?
Couldn't agree more, Tom. And that's the thing. Like, moving into the playoffs, I know people are very, very disappointed, but I think Walker's going to be a big part of this game. But the one thing Seattle does is once they get inside the 5-10 yard line, it's Charbonnet time. He's more of the battering ram. Also very important in chip blocking to give Sam Darnold that little extra time when he's looking for like tight end Barner. But yeah, I think both running backs, Blake Corum has been a little bit banged up over the last couple of weeks for the Rams guys. But yeah, it's going to be a heavy dose. And I don't know how you guys feel about the total. I don't mind rain because there's turnovers, but once winds start being a factor in the game, things can get a little bit crazy. It seems low, but last time they got together, it turned into a track meet. That was due to turnovers. So how do you guys feel about the over-under? I'm on Seattle as a side. It's hard to go to the window and say I'm very confident with the over in this game, and the total, it's a little low. I'm more of a sides guy tonight, and I like your running back props too, Tom. Like Kenneth Walker's 46.5, like for rushing, and yeah, he's had a couple of bad games. Big deal. I think he's going to get a lot more touches than that tonight, guys. And I really, as I said before, I think the tight ends are going to be a factor, and I like Shaheed. Shaheed returns punts, and he's going to be open in the slot, kind of like Shakir for the Bills.
Yeah, Cam, I think the tight ends are a pretty good look tonight. Also understand this, the Rams have such a good red zone offense. Why? Because Devontae Adams scores every touchdown inside the 5. He's not going to be there tonight. That is a major disadvantage for the Los Angeles Rams. But Cam, we talk some NFL football, we have some fun, but we need that ice advice. The perfect storm is tonight. The Flyers in Buffalo tonight. Buffalo as a favorite. We can't fade the Flyers. No. Man. Zegras, Mishkov, they're coming to town to take over Buffalo.
I'll tell you one thing about the Buffalo Sabres. I've been to 3 games this year, and it's awesome, but you don't take them as a favorite. They're a dog. Like, when you're laying 40 cents with Buff, you're like, whoa, have another drink from the Sabre sword. But they are playing good hockey. Let's give the Flyers credit. 4-1, big win over the Montreal Canadiens heading into this game. But I got picks tonight, and me, Tommy, you're good at the hockey. Donnie, you bet a little bit of hockey, but I'm taking the Bruins plus 120 tonight. I think that is an absolute great price for them. This is a tough game. LA's been on that Florida swing. They lost a heartbreaker to Florida. I'm taking them tonight against the Lightning, getting plus 160. One favorite. Rangers, you haven't scored in 2 games. Well, you better do it tonight against a listless St. Louis Blues team that beat Winnipeg 1-0 last night. God, that game sucked. It was our national TV game. I'd rather watch me, Donnie, play for the Hamilton, whatever you called them, or the St. Catharines team that I played in junior. Anyway, and a Calgary-Montreal parlay to plus 145. Flames and Canadians. As Prime Minister, we need a little Canadian content. God bless you guys. Let's win some money tonight with all our bets and go Seahawks. Sorry, I am a fan.
Stewart, if we gave him a profile, it would be Carl Racky of this network. Thank you so much, Cam Stewart, for joining us here on Thursday. We're ready to rock. We'll close it down next. Cam, as always, fantastic stuff. We'll talk to you next week.
If I told you 25 years ago that you could bet $1,000 on whether or not the Miami Dolphins would go 25 years without a playoff win, that probably would have returned 10 mil, if not more.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you could do that on Kalshi right now or on Polymarket right now and pick any team you want.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Michael Jordan retired at the age of 30 in 1993. He missed the 93-94 season. Furthermore, he came back for 17 games in 1995 when he gave up baseball. And when I mean gave up baseball, he gave up baseball on March 18th and came back to basketball March 19th, which means no ramp up, no training camp, no nothing.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You ain't buying no tickets.
Who isn't?
You're not going to these
I'm
games.
a fan. Of course I'm not. There's a fan. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but if you were a fan, I thought you were a fan of the Hurricanes. You're not
They told me. I told them to donate my tickets.
Yeah, so I get it. But the fans travel. They have money, believe it or not. It's amazing.
In this economy,
but they have money. I don't know. See what Kalshi says about the economy.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I see the Lions making it when it's all said and done. I talked to Brady Cannon about this. We were doing our show on Sunday night. I think the Bears are just a season early. I think they're a year early in their development. They are winning games, and they still have a negative point differential. The turnovers are keeping them afloat. That's just not sustainable when it's all said and done. Ben Johnson has done a fantastic job. Next year will be the year they truly take a lead.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid Network having some fun on a Thursday morning on a massive, massive weekend ahead in football, which starts tonight up in Seattle, the Pacific Northwest. Maybe supremacy in the NFC will come out of that game tonight. But the time of the program that we like to reach out to the people. Do we want to see what they have to say? Here's our Fade the Public poll. It's real simple. You take a look on X and you see my name there, at Donnie Rightside. You see at Tom_Vecchio1 over there. That's how you follow us. But also, if you're not following the SportsGrid Network, it's easy. At SportsGrid. Hit the follow button each and every day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Tom. We ask the public a question. We want their feedback on today's question. What is your best bet for tonight's Thursday night football matchup between the Rams and the Seahawks? 4 options. Over, under, side. Rams or Seahawks. Leader right now in the clubhouse. It is the Rams at +1.5. Tom, they are the public favorite, so the added interest goes to, are we fading the public tonight? I am. How about that?
I think there's certainly reason to, especially since how much the line has moved now. There's a difference between simply fading the public and then also, betting into a line that has moved. If you got the Seahawks at +1.5 earlier in the week, that is an absolutely fantastic spot to be in when it's all said and done. I lean on the Seahawks at home. I also lean on the under. There's a significant amount of weather that's going to impact the scoring in this game. I just don't see these teams getting up and down. 20-17 final kind of game.
And depending on how this game goes, because obviously the spread is 1.5. It's a lower total. We're not expecting a blowout by either side. But, the psyche of the public on the Seahawks, as we just talked to Cam, I really think moves in a positive direction if they win. Because if they lose this game, Seattle's going to make the playoffs, but nobody's going to believe and say, oh, it's just Sam Darnold being Sam Darnold. If he steps up, and I don't need, Tom, 22 of 26, 295, and 3 scores. I just need him to deliver good passes tonight, be sensible in the pocket, and a victory. And I go, you know what? I might be able to buy in on them.
Right, and that's really what it comes down to. It's it's not if Seattle wins, it's how they win. If they win and Sam Darnold has 3 turnovers, interception, fumble, this, that, and they sneak away with a win, that's bad. Now, if they win convincingly and it's a clean game and they take care of business, that is a very, very different story. There's more potential downside for the Seahawks than there is upside. If they win the game and it's clean, that's great. But if it looks bad, no one will believe in Seattle.
Nobody will believe in Seattle tonight. Show us, Seattle. You got prime time footage tonight to take control of the NFC. Let's see if they can get that done. Now, Tom, we've been red hot over the past couple days here with our best bets. Here's bye. You can go NHL, Tom. You can go NCAA football, NCAA basketball, the NBA, whatever you want, Tom, for the people out there. Where are we going for a best bet for you tonight?
Let's stick with this Thursday night game, and let's go to Colby Parkinson, the tight end for the Rams. 38.5 receiving yards. This plays in for a number of different reasons. 1, Devontae Adams not expected to play tonight. 2, we see the Rams very often using 13 personnel in their player packages and using 3 tight ends. 3, we see Seattle terrible against opposing tight ends this season. They've allowed the 4th most receiving yards to opposing tight ends, sitting up at 952 this year. So and the weather. So we add all these things together, and we have a player that's due for more increase, or an increase in the offensive usage because Devontae's out. He has a low ADOT, so the weather and the wind shouldn't impact things too much, and Stafford can get the ball out quickly. And then we just have a favorable matchup because Seattle is deficient against tight ends. So with coverage rolling to Puka, they're going to need to pass the ball to someone, and Colby Parkinson is going to be the one to do that. Over 38.5 receiving yards for Colby Parkinson.
Also, great red zone target, too. No Devontae Adams, somebody else to get. And particularly, it's kind of odd. Like, Puka is not that red zone target guy. He's more that 20-20 guy, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. So maybe one of the tight ends steps up with a touchdown here for the Rams. For me tonight, Tom, I'm going to the NBA. And I'm looking late night tonight, 10 o'clock. That's the Sacramento Kings and the Portland Trailblazers. Ooh, the Pacific Northwest is going to get our attention tonight. This line opened up at 7.5. It now sits at 9 and 8.5, depending on where you're shopping at. But how about this, Tom? 37% of the tickets coming in on the Trailblazers, and a line movement. I am going tonight to fade the public, and we're going to take the reverse line movement on the Portland Trailblazers. I'm laying the 8.5 at a -115 price tonight. So you got a prop bet in the NFL. You got some NBA action. We swept yesterday. A very good week as we head into Friday, Tom. It's like a 2-0 night tonight. What do you feel?
I'm feeling that as well. As we talked about coming on to the show, always paying attention to public money and line movement in the NBA. And you can bet that pretty regularly and come out on the right side as long as you're fading the public.
Oh, coming out on the right side. Boy, Tommy, to check the mail right there. Action-packed on a Thursday. And Tommy, I believe you're back tomorrow with us. Is that true? Are you back tomorrow?
Not sure yet, but I'm always ready.
Man's always ready for a fight. For Donnie and Tommy, thanks for tuning in this morning. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning on a Football Friday right here on the Grid.